In 2019, a giant tornado suddenly struck Tokyo. That night, countless twisters raged on without an end, eradicating everything. Just as the weary people were about to lose all hope, a flash of light shot down from the dark sky, and a massive sword of purity obliterated the threats thrusting through the eyes of the tornadoes. Winged and white beings appeared with the sword, and they emitted a similar power of light. They not only stopped the calamity using their extraordinary strength, these supernaturals also descended and healed wounds with a miraculous power they called blessings. Their figures, saving the people from the great disaster, looked for all the world like angels. In Tokyo, 5 years later, the sun shined down on the city like always. Inside a restaurant, Kai swallowed an entire bowl of ramen in seconds, leaving everyone shocked. Happily placing the bowl on the table, he thanks the owner for the amazing meal. The man is surprised that he's already done, adding that he eats as much as ever. With this, the regular heads out and apologizes to his friend for keeping him waiting. It's fairly normal, but Haru still can't help but wonder how he eats so much in the morning. He refutes this. He just eats whenever, regardless of when it is in the day. While walking down the street, they see a small crowd gathering by the corner. It's another case of an angel coming down from the sky to visit. Indeed, it was performing a miracle on an old lady as others watched in awe. It granted its blessing with ease and removed the woman's need for a cane. She tested out and they gasped in wonder, confirming that her bones and joints were all strong. The power to heal wounds is amazing, but Kai had no intention of receiving their help. Besides, he feels like there's something shady about them. Haru chuckles at his suspicion, saying he's the only one in the world who feels that way. Still, he insists that doctors can heal him, and he can help those who need saving. Neither back down, and his friend argues that blessings are more than enough for that. They even healed his eyesight, and he's just wearing glasses to remember his father. What's more, angels can also grant other wishes, not just ones related to health. Such things are unreachable to normal people. To Kai, power isn't simply given, but something one has to seize for themselves. It's an ideal that's so in line with his personality. They pass through the high school's entrance, where they encounter a bunch of delinquents loitering around. One boy, Higuchi, particularly follows Haru with his dark eyes, and the smaller student can't help but feel uneasy. Noticing this, Kai offers to have a word with the guys that are picking on him, but the victim insists that he isn't a little kid who needs protecting. Unwilling to let it go so easily, his friend playfully grabs him, promising to be there in case he needs him. Just then, a cold voice calls to them and says they're standing in her way. Kumi continues to degrade them, but it's exactly what Kai likes about her. So he just asked her to go out with him. She flatly rejects him, looking away and calling him gross to his face. This doesn't seem to be his first rejection from her, so Haru wonders why he likes her so much. There isn't much to it, and he simply fell in love with her face as soon as he saw her. Told not to get on her bad side, the two part ways for their classes. The day goes on, and the professor hands tests from the previous day back. Meanwhile, Kai was worried about the bullies and his friend, who's the type to bottle his problems up. His teacher suddenly came up to his face, screaming and complaining about his scores. Showing a big 0, he asked the boy if he has any intention of taking the class seriously. The student argues that he's uninterested in a subject on angels. Graduation was just around the corner, and getting such grades endangers his future. He's declared this before, but he wants to be a cop or a firefighter to save people. The others laugh at his dream, saying society doesn't need those anymore because of the angels. That said, they'd be left helpless if those angels suddenly disappeared one day. Only humans can save other humans, and Kai was determined to prove it to them. They question how he's going to do that with his grades, prompting him to lash out. For the last time, the teacher tells him to sit down and listen. Later after class, he stomps across the hallway, starving from all the arguing he did. He enters a room and immediately calls Haru for lunch, but is told that he already left with someone. Kai blushes playfully and asks if he was with a girl, but his demeanor instantly shifts when he's told that it was Higuchi and his gang. In an empty bathroom, Haru was being ruthlessly beaten up by the bullies, coughing. He insists that he has no more money to give them, but the cheekiness in his tone doesn't sit well with the gang leader. Higuchi opens a pair of scissors up by his face and says a weakling like him has no right to talk back to them. Suddenly, loud screams rang out as Haru felt a sharp pain at his ear. Told that he might be going too far, he reasons that an angel can just heal him anyway. Just then, they hear loud noises from outside. Kei had arrived and was steadily beating the gang of bullies with his bare hands. He was so furious and focused on punishing them that he failed to react to the pair of scissors being driven into his back. Higuchi questions what he thought he was doing, but backs away in shock after seeing the dented cutting tool. A heavy punch lands on his face, and that one hit is enough to knock him out cold onto the corner. Kai assists his friend, worried and curious if he is okay. Gritting his teeth and holding his mutilated ear, Haru sadly looks into his friend's eyes and says he can walk on his own. The unexpectedly cold and dismissive words hurt the young man, who later sits all by himself. Unbeknownst to him, the wound from where he was stabbed smoked earlier, and Kumi was somehow the only one who could see. Studying the place where the fight took place, she picks the pair of scissors up and finds the same essence that was seeping out of Kai. The news reports increasing incidents of excessive violence since the angels appeared, and a professor attributes it to humans' natural break to destroy what can be fixed. Kai detested them all. He thinks back to his friend who insisted that the bullying wasn't a big deal. Haru used to rely on him for everything, and they used to be much closer before things suddenly changed. Years ago, a huge fire swallowed a building, and firefighters were doing their best to save people. Kai, still a child back then, called out to his father. Just then, a lone man stepped out from the flames, carrying a child that was trapped inside. They were both safe, and the boy couldn't help but stare in admiration. His father always said that only people can save people, and he was a man who lived by those words. Now, the valiant man's son swears to be just like him. For starters, he runs off to make his friend open up about what's troubling him. Haru was at the bottom of a high set of stairs. He looked up, having business with the shrine at the top. Kai runs into some friends on the street who share that his friend left to get his ear treated, likely headed to an angel. He seems to have gone to a temple up on the hill. Before the young man could complain, a huge flash of light burst from the hill, and it was natural to assume that it came from the shrine. Again, the feeling of dread seeped into his heart. He rushed to the source of the light, not noticing that Kumi was watching. Having climbed all the stairs, Haru really was at the temple. There, he prayed intently to the angel, begging for a speck of its power. However, he was met with nothing but silence. He frowned in disappointment, but didn't give up and snatched the bandage right off of his wounded ear. Swearing on the injury, he promises to use the power for good and asks to be as strong as Kai. This is when the bright light came to answer his call. Turning around and looking up, he sees an angel rapidly descending. It was responding to the splendid and fragrant smell of his wound. Without further explanation, it opened its gaping jaws above the boy. A hand reaches out and Kai manages to pull his friend to safety just before he is swallowed whole. It was obviously trying to eat him, but an angel eating a human was preposterous. The being spoke, saying it's okay to consume humans if they're alone, but not when others are around. Hearing it from the divine itself, Haru was in disbelief and said it must be joking. However, it continues and says that they're there to feed on humans and evolve. Kai then questions why they saved them from the catastrophe 5 years ago. To their horror, it asks if they really think it's by chance that the tragedy occurred as they descended. The revelation makes the young man's heart drop. It was basically confirming that the entire disaster and rescue was a setup. The angel was silent, but its smug face was enough of an answer. Kai recalls the millions of people who died 5 years ago, including his father. With this, there was no way he's letting him go. Knowing there was no talking to him in that state, Haru ran off to get help. The angel chases after him, unwilling to let a witness escape, but it suddenly stops as the other boy pulls its entire body back. He had already lost his father, and he wasn't going to lose his friend as well. The divine being is shocked as the human actually throws him back with power that was both unbelievable and interesting. While their battle started, Haru kept running down the long stairs. To his surprise, he runs into Kumi halfway down and wonders what she's doing there. Just then, a bright light flashed from where he just came from. She says it's the Nimbus, which began without any warning. With the boy's confusion, she asks what happens when a spark is thrown into a place with gas. When demonic essence touches an angel's power, the same thing will happen. Kneeling from the divine power, Kai is unable to move and is called livestock. In exchange for his insolence, the angel opened its mouth and the two classmates watched as his body was chomped in half. Haru tries to run to his friend, but Kumi stops him from getting any closer. If he does, he'll only get caught in the explosion. For some reason, the angel suddenly found itself vomiting. The taste was disgusting, so much so that it questions what the human mixed into his body. Turning to face the boy, it sees the lower half smoking, festering, and morphing into something else entirely. A voice tells the young man to use its power, and suddenly, hands popped out from an encasement. It ripped it apart, and a demonic being emerged with a loud roar. Haru stared in shock. Kumi smiled in satisfaction, and the angel observed, silently waiting for its next move. With Kai's voice, the sinister being glared at his enemy and complained about his situation. As soon as Kai's body was bitten in half, his consciousness fell into a deep abyss. He was almost dragged down by the dead, but a hand pulled him back out from the depths. As he coughed and caught his breath, his savior abruptly asks if he hates angels. Immediately pronouncing his hatred for the enemy of all mankind, he looks up and sees an odd figure standing before him. Simply put, he almost died, but was pulled into the space between life and death. The godlike being, Satan, was the one who saved him. Although he doesn't argue, Kai thinks he looks more like a clown than a god. Shown a coin, the man standing at the brink of death is granted a magnificent chance. He can either meet his painful end as a weak human or be reborn as a demon with the power to slaughter the angels he hates so much. Told to make his judgment despite not knowing much about the topic of demons, he catches the coin. He says he doesn't like either option and crushes the coin in his fist. As such, he chooses to come back to life as a human and eliminate angels with his own strength. Since he'd rather die than become a demon, he tosses the coin back, adding that he wants to save his kind with his own two hands. Recognizing his spirit and sheen, Satan sees that he must be fighting against hereditary greed. The human is suddenly encased in an odd cage and told that he's going to be turned into a demon. In ecstasy, he's ordered to go on a rampage and provide the creature with some entertainment. Kai's ideals are ignored, and a monster bursts out of his gut. A horn also sprouted from his eye. While he screamed in horror, Satan smiled, saying it's a present for his cute little grandson. Now he's told to unleash his power. Emerging back into the world of the living, the young man complains. Without any warning, he threw his arm out and cut the angel's wing off. It stared in shock as the boy who had completely changed questioned what was happening to him. Kai hopelessly screamed at Satan, demanding to know what he did to him. Meanwhile, the angel was also furious as the livestock injured his body. However, it couldn't do anything as its greatest enemy shot up to block his path. Void of any hesitation, the young man drove his hand into its head and mercilessly pulled its eye out while complaining about his undesirable situation. He's turned into a monster, and he can't even call himself a human anymore. He hated it, so why was his heart pounding with excitement and power? Tearing the angel's body apart, he finds a golden core at the center and breaks it with his bare hands. With this, the light in the divine being's eyes faded away. The student was still in his demonic form, but Haru called his name. Hearing his friend's voice, Kai turned with his hands grabbing his head, questioning what he was doing. The energy and armor around his body was fading away. Meanwhile, Kumi snapped a photo with her phone. With an expression they've never seen on her, she confirms her expectations. After saying that it was worth following him, the girl abruptly left. She jumps down the stairs, noting how he killed an angel with raw power and no contract. Recruiting him into her team was imperative, and she summoned her contract monster, Gura, to agree and serve as her ride. That said, someone she's been degrading so much might not accept her invitation. Called out by her companion, the girl squirms in the air and turns red, telling it not to bring such embarrassing situations up. If it weren't for her contract, she'd never have said such things to him. Assured that he likes her enough to let it pass, she's filled with even more embarrassment. At this rate, it was only a matter of time before her real identity got out. Back at the shrine, Kai blankly pulls on his friend, saying he has somewhere to go. He intends to report the angel situation to the police, but doing so would only have him ridiculed. Determined, the boy argues that they have the body and the evidence, but almost everyone in the city sees angels as saviors who rebuilt Tokyo from rubble. No one was going to believe them, and they just had to leave for now. Since it was already dark, they can hide somewhere before returning home in the morning. The morning came without any problems, and angels were going around performing blessings as they always did. The difference is Haru now knew better. Kai called to him with a big grin and wave. It's good that he's okay. So his friend asks if he noticed any changes to his body since then. The young man asks what he's talking about, then sarcastically goes on about forgetting how he was eaten by an angel and turned into a monster. There was no way he would forget, and just accepting it wasn't an easy task either. With that said, Haru still doesn't know how he ended up that way. Kai winces while recalling the painful memory and says he doesn't even want to talk about it. Unfortunately, the boy was determined to understand the cause, so he agrees to explain on one condition. An angel with beady eyes flew dangerously close to them. With too many enemies, he'd rather they talk in school instead. The two head to a secluded classroom, where Kai tells the entire story of his encounter with Satan. Haru struggled to believe the mere concept of a clown-like demon in the space between life and death. Man-eating angels was problematic enough, and now they have to deal with demons as well. Kumi suddenly joined the conversation, sitting on the window and saying it's only natural. She whines about being left out after sharing a secret with each other yesterday. They were on the 3rd floor, so they question how she found them and got there. As if it's the most normal thing, she says she followed Kai's scent and climbed up. After all, she can smell a demon from a mile away since she's the same kind. Her words immediately put the two boys on guard, but she just smiles and offers to tell them truth about man-eating angels and demons. Given their reaction to Gora, Kumi explains that he's a demon she has a contract with. Kai comes up to his face and rudely asks if he eats humans as well. Letting it go, he explains that beings like him only consume a person's passion and aren't even slightly interested in flesh. Passion is energy created from emotional friction and naturally comes when one feels strongly. As per their contract, Kumi provides Gora with her passion, and she's given power in exchange. Angels evolve by eating flesh, so demons team up with humans to stop humanity and passion from disappearing. With this, Haru confirms that the angel from yesterday was telling the truth. Kai then argues that he doesn't remember making contract. However, his friend and Kuami heard yesterday about something being mixed in with his body. In other words, he must be a demon half-breed. Insisting that he's a human, he's asked if he noticed anything odd throughout his life. She asks Gora for the characteristics of a half-breed. As far as he remembers, they have an innate hatred toward angels, a tendency toward gluttony, and an unnaturally sturdy body, all of which apply to him. It was a perfect match, and his kind is actually fairly rare. His power might have been sealed before the encounter, but being in contact with the divine or facing a life and death situation might have broken the seal. His demonic lineage might have come from any ancestor, but using demonic power without a contract was basically a cheat. With this, she invites him to use that power and kill angels with her. After all, he's always talking about saving people with his own hands. The young man is all for killing angels and avenging his parents, but he doesn't ever want to change into that form again. He recalls losing control back then and shudders at the thought of losing his humanity. Kumi leaned back in exasperation and called him pathetic. Haru politely asks how many people are aware that angels are trying to eat people. She reveals that adults found out long ago and are turning a blind eye. The news shocks and confuses them. Considering the pros and cons of the divine existence, it's a net positive for the country. In other words, the blessings were just far too valuable. Kai has never received one, so he wouldn't know. But blessings do more than just heal wounds. The more one receives them, the more resistant to pain a person becomes. As such, adults decided that there's no benefit in fighting. Also aware of their unmatched strength, the half-demon argues that it isn't about pros and cons as people were about to be eaten. With that said, he remembers to ask Haru what he was doing in the shrine yesterday. He hesitates and looks away, not wanting to give an answer. The young boy changes the topic and asks how many people have been eaten so far. As far as they know, 7,000 people have been consumed since 5 years ago. While Kai is shocked and worried, Haru mumbles about expecting more. Their differing reactions are intriguing enough to catch Kumi's eye. She thought they were good friends, but that doesn't seem to be the case. The half-breed insists that they are and even lived under the same roof once. After he was orphaned, Haru's mother allowed him to stay at their home. It was for 3 years and he remembers it fondly, but his friend doesn't echo his thoughts. His reaction doesn't miss Kumi's eye, but she brushes it off and gets up, saying it was time to meet their quota. She suddenly comes up to Kai with a bright smile and pulls him by the window. To his surprise, she invites him to go out on a date for a change of pace. The triumphant boy immediately accepts, not even thinking about it. Before he could take it back, Gura's tail wrapped around his body, and they flew out the window without any further warning. Haru is left all alone just like that. Only 7,000 people have been eaten, but before that, 3,500 people died in traffic accidents annually. Compared to that, angels really were cost-effective. After all, eating things to stay alive wasn't inherently bad, and even humans do it. The only reason for the strong reaction is because humans are being targeted solely. With all that considered, he concludes that angels are actually kinder than people. They don't say things like power isn't given, but seized with one's own hands. He suddenly looks down while walking, having accidentally stepped on something gross. Meanwhile, Kai was still in the air, calling to Kumi, who wasn't even listening. She was completely lost in her thoughts since she just grabbed his hand on impulse. Dangling in the air, he whines about being dragged and forced to leave Haru alone. With the mention of the friend, she says he might be in a really bad state. To explain, she points down and brings his attention to a child. She wasn't doing anything much, just praying. Lower-class angels lure people in by claiming to grant powers just like they did with Haru. Exterminating pests like those is her duty, so she'll now give him a demonstration. Unnaturally stubborn, he frees himself from Gura's grip and jumps down as it was no time to be watching. The angel asks how she can help, and the child explains how she can't keep up in school. Told that they can grant wishes, she hopes to have her intellect improve. It might sound like cheating, but the divine does not discriminate and deny wishes. The child's eyes sparkled with hope. To grant her salvation, the angel grabbed her shoulders and opened her mouth wide. Freezing in shock, the girl could only stare silently. Just then, Kai dove down to kick the human eater away. While the two faced each other down, Kumi watched from above, and Gura says the superhuman boy actually pried his grip off. This only makes her want the young man even more. Struck and sent away, the angel identifies the power of a shepherd and is disgusted. Hearing this, Kai asks what she's talking about. However, it just lashes out, calling him a heretic sent by demons to intrude upon her meal. A huge foot loomed over the humans, and the girl was told to run. However, the enormous soul was too big to dodge and slammed down on their bodies. It seemed anticlimactic as Kumi was expecting more. Just then, the angel is surprised as she feels the half-breed pushing her foot back and protecting the child. He uses his entire body as a shield, but her legs just wouldn't listen to her. The force pushing him down grew even stronger. His date showed up just then and told him to just use his demon power. He refuses to do so and even tells her to shut up, but this is just what she hates about him. The young man keeps on declaring his desire to save people, and can't even consider the feelings of his friend who's clinging to the angels for help. He isn't even human, but believes that he knows what's best for everyone. If he truly wanted to be of use to someone, then he must sacrifice himself and fight. Her words make him waver. Years ago, his dad admitted his fear of jumping into flames, but bears it by thinking of who he'll save. His mother gets mad at him sometimes and tells him to stop sacrificing himself, but he's just a clumsy guy who's set in his ways. Cursing it all, Kai allows the power to seep through. Contempt fills his body and the demonization completely takes over his body. The angel is shocked, more so, as he cuts her foot apart with a wave of his hand. In the blink of an eye, she incurs a huge hole on her side, and Kai was already behind her, holding the golden core of her life in his hand. Chuckling in delight, he gains newfound resolution to wipe each and every angel out. On the other hand, Kumi smiles and welcomes him into the world of demons. Kai was in the air, already demonized and hunting another angel down. The divine being thrust its golden blade forward, but the weapon shatters upon hitting the demon's hard skin. From the reflection of the fragments, one can see the boy grab the angel and drive it into the wall. Incapacitating it within moments, he takes the golden core out of its chest. Meanwhile, a woman in the angel was shaken, unable to understand why an angel tried to stab her. Kai, still in his demonic form, called out and warned her against relying on any more angels unless she wants it to happen again. Unfortunately, this seems more like a personal threat and prompts her to run in fear. Already accepting this outcome, he just drops down. Kumi appeared above him in the middle of a nap and praised him for doing well. However, she wonders why he changed to his human form when other enemies might be around. To answer her questions, he mentions how she also fights with demon power. With that, he asks if she's ever worried about waking up as a monster who can't turn back. He still can't fully trust his powers, so he doesn't use it unless necessary. That hesitation might be fatal, so he's reminded that dying means he can't protect anyone. Already aware of this, he argues that he beat the enemy, so it's not a problem. Gur is irritated by his recklessness and can't believe that he was actually worried about him. Despite bickering, he thanks them for all the concern. Since he's so confident in himself, Kumi decides to let him handle targets on his own. She then says that there's another reason to kill angels besides them preying on people. The statement naturally intrigues him. Meanwhile, a divine being sat on a throne, noting how another light of life has faded. Knowing the shepherds are to blame, he scowled in anger and ordered for the executioners to be sent out. Back in his regular restaurant, Kai downs several bowls of ramen and says he's starting from working so hard. Again, he finishes his meal and finds Haru outside. Called out for eating so much so early, he says a job works up an appetite. With a cautious glance, his friend asks if he killed another angel today. The half-breed never imagined that so many people would actually cling to angels. After all, someone like him would never understand how it feels to be weak. Changing the conversation, Haru notes how he seems to be much more comfortable now about turning into a demon. He was trying to be a decent human, but got turned into a demon against his will. Every time he takes that form, it feels like he wasn't himself anymore. He's told to stop if it's so hard, but he can't stand and watch others be sacrificed just because they became desperate. The half-breed is then asked if what he's doing is actually making a difference. Haru has been thinking a lot to himself about angels not being enemies. Kai reminds him of everything they lost because of them, but his friend says the deaths are all just tiny drops in a bucket. Thanks to the angels, everyone was happy, and a few sacrifices must be worth that. The words coming out of his mouth were unbelievable. Earlier, Kumi revealed that blessings contain poison. While some regularly turn to the divine for healing and miracles, their souls are contaminated bit by bit. Once humanity will slowly wither, the more blessings a human receives. Haru didn't see the angels as enemies even after he almost died to one. He's become so caught up in his problems that he can't care less about anyone else. As for the people who endlessly receive blessings, they'll become living zombies. Feeling and thinking nothing, they'll wander off as mere lumps of flesh. They're called the apostles, and the objective of angels is to mass-produce these apostles. One would normally just wipe humanity out, but they found humans more useful than they expected. Those who become apostles are turned into weapons and exploited as members of a vast army. Now, it is their mission to stop that army from being formed. Just then, Satan's voice comes, telling him not to break. As Haru notices, he apologizes for spacing out a bit. He'd never consider others as sacrifices for their sake. As he was walking away, the young man says he never understood why the young man was so hung up on humans. Before he became a demon, he must have already known about his identity. Ever since he was little, he used to be a ruffian who kept collecting battles unless they wanted payback. Meanwhile, Haru asked why he's clinging to his humanity and denying who he is. After thinking about it for a while, he pinches his friend's cheek, saying his thoughts are too complicated. Simply put, he just wants to do what he can do. Just then, a call from Komi comes, asking him to fight. Like before, he told Haru to come to him and not worry about angels if he's in a bind. Despite the generous offer, he can't help but look down regretfully. Back in the streets, he thinks about the young man's words. He was called a demon half-breed, but by the day he was born, people already treated him like a demon. His outburst causes him to run into a woman who isn't afraid to scold him. She confirms where he goes to school and questions why he's turning and stepping away in the opposite direction. Seeing his scar, she wonders if the young man is the rumored half-breed. Later on, Kai arrives at a riverbank and looks around for the target he's meant to eliminate. An old man nearby shook and trembled, repeating how everyone around him was eaten. Like a kind Samaritan, he checks on his condition. Suddenly, its body melted and the young man backed away in utter shock. He senses something and looks up. Fortunately, his reactions are sharp, allowing him to dodge a huge axe strike from above. The arm was floating, and its attack cut the bench and man apart. A voice then entered, sharing that he has 3 shepherd corpses in his possession. Fortunately, for sounded like a sweet and delectable sound. A dangerous-looking guy had come, and there's no choice but to use it. The strange being introduced himself as Greg, the executioner, who has come to pass judgment on the shepherd. Kai is immediately on alert, encountering an executioner for the first time. Its multiple arms shot forward, each holding an axe that can cut him in half. He does his best to dodge the blades, still wondering why he was suddenly being targeted. Greg was impressed that he could see all his attacks, but the last one was coming. Since he seemed so insistent and determined to catch him, Kai was running out of options. The sharp weapon sped towards his legs. He quickly dodged by jumping high into the air. Looking at the blade that was stuck to the wall, he dove down, fully intending to break it apart with his bare fists. As he was about to make contact, the severed arm and axe suddenly emitted green energy, and the young man found himself engulfed in a strong explosion. He was burning, but he doesn't know what caused it anyway. It was Greg's flames of judgment which exorcises demons and renders them weak. Just like that, he believes the battle is already over. However, Kai continued to fight, even warning him against underestimating him. As soon as he says this, his enemy punishes his gloating and drives an axe into his side. Blind-sided and unprepared, that one attack nearly takes him out on the spot. After a couple of seconds, the green flame started coming out of his body, and his entire being was devoured by the sinister blaze of the executioner. Greg tells him not to despair as he'll polish his husk clean no matter how charred he becomes. It felt like a battle already won, but a demonic power suddenly burst from the emerald fire. Demonized, Kai leapt up and reached his enemy in an instant. Like tearing through paper, he claws through the executioner's body with his hands. Despite the hole in his body, Greg was impressed that he could do so much while being burned. He takes control of the boy with his weapons, deeming him a worthy vessel of number 4. Kai couldn't move his body, and even his instant healing was being delayed. Like Kumi warned, his reluctance towards demonizing was proving to be fatal. He doesn't want to accept defeat but can't do anything as the axe swung down from above. Just then, a familiar girl appeared and kicked the executioner's arms away. The half-breed recognizes Suzu as the woman from before. Without giving any explanation, she drags him away from the axe-bearing limbs. Greg is annoyed as reinforcements came just at the worst time. On the other hand, Kai asks his savior if she's an acquaintance of Kumi. His question makes her understand just out of the loop the boy was. Kicking another executioner arm away with ease, she looks down at the half-breed, noting that he looks particularly weak. Greg commands her to step aside, claiming the husk for himself. His blade surrounded her, but she only saw it as a perfect opportunity. With amazing technique and combatability, she knocks the weapons away without ever getting hit and calls it a lesson on angel extermination. Suddenly, a powerful burst of purple energy shot out from her body. Kai sees it for the first time, but recognizes the passion Kumi was talking about. She's glad that he at least knows about it and introduces the ecstasy passion her demon devours. The more she loves a fight to the death, the stronger she becomes. Her contract demon, Zaki, emerged around her, ready to show off to the newbie. Their bodies fused together, and Suzu brimmed with demonic energy around her. Greg was disgusted by her form, not liking the girl any one bit. Since he has no need for her body, he'll just incinerate the marrow of her bones. The shepherd laughed at his threats, saying he sounds just like her student. With that said, she decides to teach him a valuable lesson and stomps her spiked boot into the land. While she drove it deep down, huge thorny plants shot out from beneath, going straight for Greg and impaling his limbs along the way. He's shocked as the plants move fast enough to surround him. If this doesn't kill him, Suzu will agree to play along. After all, the teacher is free until the second period. Her insolent words enraged the executioner, who then vowed to kill her. However, a bright light flashed from above, and the angel disappeared from the field in the blink of an eye. The shepherd laughed, deeming herself the winner as her enemy ran away. Meanwhile, Kai was just in awe of what he witnessed. If he has that much strength, then maybe he can still save Haru. Barely managing to crawl on the ground, he begs Suzu to teach her about the power she uses. He uses what's left of his strength to grab onto her ankle and beg for her guidance. She and her contract demon looked at him and chuckled upon seeing that he passed out after saying his plea. Satisfied with his guts, the teacher promises to turn him into a first-class killing machine. A teacher asks Haru if he walked to school with Kai today. Told that they only did so for a short distance, the teacher brushes it off. After all, the young man can't exactly say that his friend was out fighting angels. The rest of the day went on like usual, and it was time to head home. Still alone, he wonders if Kai was eaten by an angel during a battle, but laughs at the absurd thought. Believing that he must just be resting at home, he heads to the young man's apartment and knocks on the door. No one opens or answers, but Haru notices that the entrance was open. Come to think of it, he hated how his friend never locked the door while they were living together. Seeing the inside completely empty, he starts to worry that something bad actually happened. Again, he brushes it off, remembering how Kai even survived after half his body was eaten. There was no reason to be so nervous, especially for someone who isn't even human anymore. His father's only virtue was self-sacrifice, while his mother took advantage of the disaster and vanished. Haru wonders which of them was responsible for turning him into a demon. Kai was completely bandaged up and still out cold. beside him, complained about how he could sleep so soundly. Meanwhile, Kumi turned away and walked back to her room silently. She had high hopes for him, and she regrets what happened with all of her heart. Gura is confused as to why. As soon as she entered her room, the girl's tears immediately started flowing. She blames herself, saying he wouldn't be half dead if she just accompanied him. To her surprise, a voice from her closet tells her not to cry. A bare leg suddenly kicked her cabinet door open, and Kumi questions what the person was doing in her room. It was Suzu, holding a beer and saying she was rummaging through the girl's clothes. The junior scolds her for doing so without permission, but the teacher argues that it's a fair price to pay. After all, she personally saved her recruit from death's grasp. The blatant truth makes the girl's tears fall again. Suzu questions why she didn't teach him how to draw his power out in the first place. Since he was pretty strong already, she thought he'd be able to handle a rank 2 angel. The woman laughs at her and reveals that Kai was against a high-class angel of the 6th rank. After killing too many lower rankers, it was only natural for him to get noticed and get targeted by an executioner. Kumi is shocked, not sure how she even got out unscathed, but it was all thanks to the newbie. If he hadn't clawed through Greg's stomach, then she'd likely be on the bed with him. Sitting beside the girl, Suzu reminds her of their 2 main responsibilities. The mission of Demon Pact holders is to kill angels and save their comrades. She wants to teach him how to draw his power out. But if she does that, he'd inevitably ask what her passion is. Squirming in embarrassment, she refuses to let him know that she's empowered by shame. This makes Suzu laugh as it's just for her own convenience. There are only 2 people who know her true nature, which is for the best given its conditions. It's understandable why she'd hide the truth with an arrogant and cold facade. Even the revealing clothes she'd normally never wear are supposed to make her stronger. Suzu teases her, saying she might actually be getting addicted to the feeling. Kumi denies it with her words, but her body's reaction reveals the truth in her senior's guess. Moving on, the teacher takes responsibility for training Kai since she can't do it herself. With a smug smile, she says she's already received permission from Oda. The younger shepherd tries to protest, but the leader himself has already approved it. Speaking of him, Oda was in the room where the half-breed lay and was recalling the story of his death and rebirth, particularly how he appeared from the inside of a bird that sprouted from half his body. Instead of regenerating because of a core, perhaps the eaten half of him was replaced with demon flesh. If death was the trigger, then did his human side already die, or was the bird a gate to his unconscious? Concluding that thinking about it is pointless, he decides to ask the boy himself and raises a knife above his defenseless body. As it was about to pierce his skin, the steel blade suddenly split into 2, taking even Oda by surprise. A familiar voice and energy appeared, questioning what he's doing to the host. The shepherd leader says he has no hostile intent and just wants to get to know him. It was perfect, as Satan was just getting bored himself. Emerging from Kai's body, he promises to talk if the human amuses him well enough. That said, he apologizes in advance in case he gets carried away and kills him. Unfazed by the powerful demon, Oda takes a beat out, hoping that the being in front of him isn't a run-of-the-mill spirit. Finding a bunch of beer cans in the pantry, Suzu fawns over her leader's thoughtfulness and takes a big gulp. Suddenly, the can in her hand disappears. Meanwhile, Oda was in the middle of fighting Satan. He takes an odd beat out and moves it around his fingers. In an instant, it's as if the entire room flips, and the demon's arm is replaced by a collection of crumpled tin cans. The demon looked at it, confused and intrigued as the thin pieces of metal broke apart. Oda similarly watched, emotionless, while his enemy casually ignored him. Wondering if he's perhaps a skilled magician, Satan charged in with a kick this time. Like before, something changes and his legs turn into something else. He was more befuddled than frustrated, but the shepherd says he's simply substituting parts of his body with things in the environment. Having fallen to the floor, the demon argues that it's exactly what a magician is. Stuck on the ground with just one limb left, he says he likes the young man. As promised, he starts by revealing his name. Oda leaned in to hear, surprised by his enemy's honesty. Unfortunately, it's a foolish decision as Satan bashed their heads together. Demons are liars, and that's someone anyone with common sense would know. Sent back from the impact, the human gets annoyed and takes the beat out again. Stuffed toys replaced the demon clown's torso, and someone sinister appeared from a hole in the air. It wrapped its arms around Oda as he says that he's well aware of their treachery. There are rumors of him making a contract with a fallen angel, but he's uglier than expected. Continuously making fun of him, Satan undoes the shepherd's power and appears right above his head. He swiped down with a smile, completely aiming to kill him with an ambush. Just then, Kai appeared with an odd fury, pulling his arm back to strike hard. He plants his fist into the demon's face and sends him flying across the room. Oda is surprised that he was even up, but it seems the young man was going berserk, completely out of control. Since his child has woken up, Satan says they can continue their little squabble later. As soon as he said his name, the shepherd leader and his fallen angel jerked in surprise. There was no better introduction for who he was than this. Promising to dance again one day, he disappears in a flurry of dark ravens, cawing and diving into the hole on Kai's chest. The last feather enters his body, and Oda barely stops him from falling back. Finally awake, he asks where he was and who the eye-patch-wearing man before him is. He had hoped for this, but it seems the demon is an irreplaceable existence that might be too much. A small light shone in the dark, and two men enjoyed a game of chess under its bright glow. However, they're interrupted as an odd noise echoed in the night. In the branches of the tree beside them, an angel watched intently. While one man was surprised that it couldn't speak, the divine being cuts his curiosity short and eats his head whole. His friend watched in horror, frozen and unable to do anything from the shock. The chess pieces fell to the grass as the two humans were devoured entirely. Just then, the dark divine bubbled and morphed, changing its form on the spot. Could only make odd sounds before, but now it identifies the light, then the words it speaks. Realizing he was evolving, the angel cackled madly in the dark. Back in the shepherd's base, Oda confirms that Kai really knows nothing about the demon. More importantly, the boy wants to thank his savior, who was coincidentally stomping her way there, annoyed that her beer suddenly disappeared. Despite her brashness, the leader considers her a reliable shepherd. The half-breed has heard this term a few times already, and he's finally told that it's what they call humans who've made a pact with demons. It pertains to people like themselves, and they were at the base of their angel-killing operation. Kai remembers being called a shepherd, but argues that he never really made a contract. Oda also realized a moment ago that he's special. It's a bit late, but he finally introduces himself as the shepherd's leader. Their mission is to annihilate monstrous angels who devour and brainwash humans. To win this war, he wants to borrow the young man's power and assistance. He's surprised that they even know about him, but the organization has heard enough from Kumi. That said, it's still hard to believe how a human could have so much power. Stretching his hand out, he invites Kai to join their cause and protect people side by side. Before that, there was one question the young man needed an answer to, and that's Oda's relationship with Kumi. Uncaringly and honestly calling her his comrade, he sighs and understands the situation. Having heard his story, he recalls personally asking her to recruit the boy, but she wasn't worried at all. He was surprised by how confident she was, even more so when she revealed that he was already in love with her. With that taken into account, Oda paints a smug expression on his face and says he's much closer to her than he ever will be. Kai is oddly silent for a long while, struck by the words. After thinking about it, he finally realizes the implication of his claim and urgently shakes the leader's hand, gripping it tight. He says he'll join them and become a shepherd as well. Haru called to Kai. His friend was standing there as usual, but suddenly, Greg's sharp axes appeared and cut his body apart. With this image burned in his mind, the young man woke up from the nightmare sweating and panting on the bed. Cursing the monstrous angel, he vows to crush him the next time they meet. He ran through the neighborhood, unable to just sit still while danger was waiting to strike. For the time being, he has to get strong as fast as possible. Just then, someone called him out and approached with a nasty look. His name is Toma, and he scrunches his eyes as he asks for directions. The two young men bicker right off the bat, each noting the other person's attention-grabbing appearance. As Kai blatantly says that he looks like a punk, the boy takes a straw sword from his bag and strikes his chest. This sends him over the wall and into the water. Meanwhile, Toma warns him against making fun of the Yankees. Clicking his tongue in annoyance, he decides to ask for directions in a convenience store instead. Just then, Kai shot out of the water, telling him to wait. Landing behind the Yankee like a beast preying on his target, he asks for his name. Things were heating up, and it was about to turn into a fight, but a loud voice suddenly scolded them for fighting their own comrade. Kumi appeared, wearing a light and flowy dress as she called them both to the hideout. Staring at her features, the newcomer confirms her identity. Meanwhile, Kai's heart beat fast as he saw how cute she was in normal clothes. He belatedly reacts to the news of being teammates, but Toma was focused on who she was. Introducing himself, he adds that he came to their colony to be the strongest sheep. Tensions rise between the two boys again, and as Kumi reveals that they're actually of the same age, they glare at each other in absolute annoyance. The three head back to the base, trying hard not to start a fight. Toma calls his flashy new ally and asks how long he's been in the colony. Kai doesn't know what a colony is, having just been brought there all of a sudden. It's what they call a town where people who've been hurt by angels gather, wanting to fight. In other words, it isn't a place for someone with half-baked resolve like him. The young man retorts, saying he has a will just like they do, but Satan suddenly spoke to him, calling his host a liar. He quickly turned around. Seeing nothing there, he asks if anyone else heard a voice. As they brush it off and continue walking, the three soon arrive back at the headquarters. Brought to a strange and small room, Oda calls for Tama to come sit on a chair. There, he was going to make a contract with a demon. Kai was disinterested and tries to leave to do some weight training alone. Not anyone can form a contract, and the probability of success is lower than 30%. As for failed attempts, further explanation is unnecessary, and he's told to stay with his comrade who's steeled his resolve. Since it's coming from Kumi, he decides to watch over for now. To start it off, Tama is instructed to put a helmet on and sit on the chair. It feels ridiculous, and it's as if he's being toyed with, but he realizes something different upon looking inside. It wasn't just hair, but the gear was tainted with traces of a human and eerie ordeal indeed. The owner didn't realize that their head was detached from their body and chanted the same words. He could see a scorched world. For 5 minutes, the motorist was connected to hell. The same goes for the chair, which for 6 months was used to take human lives. Some, like Kumi, come to specific demons on their own, but the chair is like a demon lottery. Toma will sit, waiting for a demon to show up and decide if he'll contract the one that does. Taking one last look at Kai, the passionate boy says he won't fall behind him. After all, he's going to be the one who avenges his people. At the top of a building, an angel greets Haru, who she notes is always there to see them. Taking his head tenderly, she offers to heal his wounds. Treating his internal pain as well, they talk about the things that make his life miserable. He asks the angel if she really can bless someone with power, healing, and grant wishes. Unfortunately, only a select few are capable of doing all that. Asked why she's clinging to him, she says her powers are too weak to do it without touching. With his hesitance, she wonders if he's afraid, more so as the rumors around them increase lately. Gripping his neck, she questions his opinion on the idea that they caused the disaster and are eating humans. Lightly pulling her hand away, the young man answers honestly and says he doesn't really think anything of it. His answer surprises her. The country is using angels for the economy, and those who already know the truth turn a blind eye. Admitting to her that their biggest enemy is actually his friend, he proposes a deal. He'll tell her who their antagonist is, and she has to eat someone he wants to get rid of. Toma sat silently on the chair with his head inside the helmet. It looks like nothing was happening, but it had actually already started. With this, Gura reminds the leader that he warned him beforehand. 2 hours ago, Oda told them that he wants Kai to observe the contract making. He wants to use the demon residing in the boy as bait for other powerful demons. It's possible in theory as the strong are naturally drawn to each other, but Gura was against it. Even if they are lured in, high-ranking demons have no reason to form contracts with humans. Ordinary ones like himself do so, simply for the sake of avoiding starvation. On the other hand, those who can secure food themselves won't bother and will just kill the human. In the past 5 years, many of their comrades have died trying to defeat Greg. The need to find someone who can finally kill him was growing by the day. Looking at the tombs outside the window, Otis says they need the strong and have no place for the weak. To win this battle, irreplaceable power was a necessity, not a privilege. Kumi looked at him solemnly. As soon as he wore the helmet, Toma found himself in a hellish place. Almost immediately, a silhouette appeared from behind, saying another human had come. They are pitiful and inferior creatures, all seeking power to compensate. For the first time, the young man sees a high-tier demon. The sheer pressure was immense and enough to make his knees buckle. Clinging to his pendant, he reminds himself of his resolve. The demon asks if he seeks revenge against the angel that killed his friend. Asked how he could possibly know that, Orochi says he can read his thoughts like an open book. His name was menacing, but he looked more like Medusa to the young boy. He's cut down countless humans seeking power and has no intention of forming a contract with one. Passion ripens at the moment of death, and this is exactly his preference when it comes to devouring. As soon as he takes his blade out, a rift opens in the real world as well. Gura deems it a failure and says they were being dragged in. Kumi stops Kai from rushing in, as only the person involved can enter hell. However, Oda grabbed her hand, stopping him from pulling the boy back. To her surprise, he reached out to Tama's body and forced his way into hell as well. Kumi silently glared at her leader, who must have intended this all along. A huge crack in hell's sky opened up, and Orochi himself couldn't believe what was happening before his eyes. Above them, Kai was clawing his way in and eventually crashed to the space between his comrade and the demon. With unwavering eyes, he stared right at the enemy, who was simply perplexed with how he forced himself there. Taking a closer look, he realizes that the boy was drawn in by someone else. With the image of Satan behind him, Kai noted how big the demon is. Turning to Toma, he says he came since it looked like he was in trouble. The recklessness surprises him. Surprisingly, Orochi put his blade back into its scabbard. With no explanation whatsoever, he suddenly says that he'll enter a contract with the boy. His snakes wrapped around the young man's body. Only one person can reject the laws of the world, and that's the king who killed him 100 years ago. If he uses his host, he too can achieve his revenge on the king. With this, 2 portals appeared back in the real world and spit the young upstarts out from hell. The fact that they both returned with their lives means that the contract formation went successfully. Toma was still on the floor and struggling to catch his breath. Heading to the rooftop soon after, he looked far away, wondering why the flashy boy came to save him. That flashy boy appeared just then and says Suzu is going to teach him how to use his power. The delinquent says he heard about him, how he, a half-breed, fights angels to save his friend. Feeling that it's unfair and one-sided, Kai demands to know a bit more about him as well. Toma admired his friend and was touched by the humanity of putting his comrades before him. That guy, Kusu, was his one and only best friend. He still remembers the days he came to help him, saying he looked like he was in trouble. For that reason, he is going to kill each and every angel regardless of what he has to sacrifice. On the other hand, Kai wants to save everyone, so he's asked what there is to accomplish by saving strangers. There wasn't a need to think too much, and he just wants to protect everything he can. As he stared at the boy, Orochi's spirit wrapped around Toma, saying he has no intention of getting friendly. When the time comes, he's going to kill Kai as well, and this is the sole condition of their contract. Noticing him staring, the boy asks if he's picking a fight. They brush it aside, at least for now. Still in the base, Oda apologizes for gathering his comrades who live far away and says he wants to formally introduce the newcomers. A fairly normal-looking bunch was gathered. Emre casually called to the leader and is scolded by Seiki, who tells him not to be so rude to their head. Meanwhile, Natsu was cautiously staring at the newbies as they gave a rough vibe. An even rougher man named Kuga exclaims upon seeing the 2 new recruits and complains about the quality of reinforcements. Oda assures him that they're both promising, prompting the short-tempered man to come up to Toma and demand to see his demon. To his disappointment, the boy declines, saying he made a promise not to call Orochi, except during battles. After pausing for just a moment, Kuga mentions his necklace, which must have belonged to someone. Confirming that the original owner was killed by an angel, he says he must have died because he was weak. Immediately, sinister red energy seeped out of Toma. Unable to hold it, he lashes out in anger and inadvertently summons the demon inside him. They all gasped in shock as the snake appeared. He promised not to call it out, but broke it so easily. Meanwhile, Oda smiled in satisfaction watching as the giant snake slithered behind the young man. Kuga backs away after successfully poking the beast out. However, he wasn't finished yet and wanted to test the power for himself. Natsu suddenly lurched and gagged. Questioning what demon it was, her face lost its color and her body grew numb. Apparently, she can tell someone's strength just by looking at them. In other words, the snake in front of them was extremely dangerous. Gura chimes in and identifies Orochi, the demon general. In the ancient war in hell, he was a god who slaughtered 1,000 armies all on his own. Taking a cigarette, Kuga gets all fired up and readies himself for a fight. Natsu dissuades him, but he's certain that he won't lose against someone like that. However, a demonic hand puts the cigarette out, agreeing with the girl. His demon, Gnome, says she doesn't want to waste her energy fighting non-angels. With this, the rough man apologizes for provoking Toma, saying he just did so as he wanted to see and greet his contracted demon. Meanwhile, Orochi reminds him of their agreement about not summoning him without a purpose. Although there are mixed reactions to the powerful but out-of-control juniors, they're asked for their names. The two introduce themselves, and Kuga says he's already heard about Kai from Oda. Hearing that he's been branded as someone chasing after Kumi, he refutes the claim, but this makes her stare at him with a pouting and disappointed face. The man laughs and says he can relate, so he feels like they'll get along. He then turns to Toma and warns that going full power like earlier will have him devoured instantly. As an alternative, he advises him to channel his power into a medium like a sword. Finishing the greetings, Kuga steps away to leave, saying he has to get back to angel extermination, as others won't pull their weight. He asks Oda just how many he killed this month. Met with silence, he questions how long he's going to make them work while he watches in peace. Unlike others, he isn't willing to become the leader's disposable tool. He leaves, but Toma doesn't fail to catch this exchange. With all that said and done, it was time to actually start working. The veteran team will proceed with extermination as planned. While Emre was already thinking about celebrating afterwards, Kai asks for their mission and who to take down. What's waiting for him is a revenge match, and he's tasked with eliminating the executioner, Greg. The boy recalls the Archangel along with the nightmares haunting him. Kumi suggests that it might be better to train and prepare a bit more. Kai was silent. He could still remember being wrapped in green flames, burning from the inside and unable to breathe. Oda considers leaving it to the veterans since he's so scared. Unwilling to show Kumi anything uncool, he grits his teeth and accepts the ridiculously hard mission with a smile. For years ago, a shepherd met Greg for the first time, and they agreed to do their best together. Moving as partners, they reigned as the strongest pair. However, the shepherd one day lost to an angel who offered to spare his life if he surrendered Greg. Just like that, he abandoned his demon, who was then filled with nothing but hate for his kind. This is why he switched from being a demon to becoming an angel who's obsessed with killing shepherds. Moving on, the two recruits questioned each other's presence in the mission. For some reason, a red streak suddenly flowed from Toma's nose. He brushes it off and says it's nothing. But Gura already knows that his body was being corrupted by Orochi's power. If he keeps using it repeatedly, his mind and body will gradually break down until he dies. Despite their rocky relationship, Kai looks at him with worry and tells him to go home while he handles it all. While they're bickering, Kumi finds their target at a dead end. However, the angel looked fairly different as its flames were white and did not carry axes. The young shepherd called out to him saying he's come to return the favor from last time. It turns, not knowing who they were, but Kai continues to misunderstand and warns the others about its burning axes. Finally realizing that they're shepherds, the angel questioned their arrival. Satan's host wasn't going to waste any time and had already demonized and jumped in. However, his face meets a thick and sturdy shield. Toma watched as his foolish comrade is bashed and sent flying away. Before fighting, he remembers Kuga's advice about channeling his power into a medium. He concentrates, pouring Orochi's spirit into his wooden sword. That said, his enemy won't let him get close so easily and bangs his shields around. There was no way to approach like this, but a hefty part of Gura's body suddenly crashed into one of the shields. She's willing to provide support and let them have the tasty party of the battle. Kai sees her fighting style for the first time ever, and he starts running, annoyed that the two looked so compatible on the battlefield. Using even more of Orochi, a snake circled Tama's body and wrapped around his blade. Empowered, the sword breaks through the angel's barrier. He flies away, realizing that he's done for if he takes a hit from it. The wooden sword was now scarlet red and as sharp as it could ever be. The executioner concludes that he has to tell his brothers, but Kai had already leapt up, unwilling to let him escape. The young man then grabs the target's floating eye with both hands and intends to slam it repeatedly until facing it towards the ground. He dives and crashes with the enemy hitting first. In the end, Kai was an idiot who keeps making unnecessarily flashy scenes. The demonized half-breed cackled as he uncontrollably tore the executioner apart, throwing bits and pieces of its body in the air. This goes on for a while since he was eagerly looking for the angel's core. Unfortunately, he fails to notice the one hand tossed away, holding the orb he was looking for. The finishing move was sloppy, but Oda watches from above and gives both recruits a passing mark. Toma says it's probably dead already, but he still found it odd that there's no core. Wondering if there are angels without cores, he turns to ask Kumi, but freezes as he sees her disappointed face. Realizing his mistake, he undoes his demonization immediately. Obviously uncomfortable, she congratulates him on getting his revenge. Just like last time, he lost control and couldn't keep his cool. Cursing it all, he buries his face in his palms and questions what he's doing. Meanwhile, something wasn't sitting right with Oda. There's still the issue of Satan, so he decides to look into what the young man might be hiding from them. Meanwhile, the executioner returned to his allies after running away and being beaten. Two of his brothers scold him, saying it's why he's regarded as the weakest among them. He then shares that the orange-haired boy was targeting Greg, who was also standing among them. The angel silences him and says she'll take care of the matter on her own. Suddenly, she finds the blade of an axe inches away from her neck. Question what he thinks he's doing, the familiar executioner says the boy belongs to him. Greg won't allow any interference with his battle, even if it's from her. His audacity makes her scowl, and she tries to remind the angel of his place among them. Just then, an enormous being stops the fighting. It was Lord Ram, and they bow as he reminds them of what he hates the most. Eradicating the shepherds can wait, and their priority is to turn humans into livestock, devour their flesh, and continue evolving. Traveling with Kumi, Oda appeared in an apartment complex from the dark. Speaking to an assisting demon, he thanks him for his help. Now he had to get right to business. He wonders what will come out of his little investigation into their new recruit's home. The girl asks if he's actually going to enter without any permission, and her consideration makes him wonder if she's starting to reciprocate his feelings. With a shaky voice, she denies the allegation, insisting that he isn't her type at all. She refuses to have a relationship beyond comrades, as it hurts when she loses someone. Gura then suggests that Kai is just a backup until her true love appears. She scolds him for using such a filthy word and warns the demon against using it again. They're so busy fooling around that Oda was already several steps ahead. Calling to the demon, he asks how his kind views Satan and if he's feared or respected. He answers easily and says he's hated to death. The former hell was ruled by chaos. When a new king was born, he'd be immediately killed by someone who wanted to take over, but that changed. Because Satan was so strong, it became impossible to rise to the top, so the cycle stopped. Concluding that he's hated by all demons, Gura asks why the sudden interest. Quick to catch on, he realizes the answer to his own question. Kumi is a bit slower on the uptake, but he just continues, correctly guessing the reason why he used Kai as bait during Toma's contract making. The leader recalls how a demon appeared from the boy's core when he tried to harm him. Satan, despite looking and sounding like a clown, brushed his attacks off. That said, why would a king of demons sign a petty contract with a random human? Since they met, Kai insisted that he didn't know anything, but Oda can't just accept that. As the leader of the shepherds, he wants to know what the boy is hiding. They enter the half-breed's dark room, where they see discernible scratch marks on the ceiling. Getting an idea, he walks to one of the walls, noting that the wallpaper was just replaced. He tears through it with a knife, and they're left in shock as the paper is peeled off to reveal a wall tainted with a deep red color and countless scratches. Meanwhile, Kai was throwing hands with Toma, who was basically brimming with concentration. The delinquent's punch lands first. Seeing this, Suzu calls for their attention and ends the match. They can still go, but she's already figured out what she wants to know. They sarcastically ask what she found from making them fight. Surrounded in energy, she says she found their passion. Even Toma had it, the energy created by emotional friction. He doesn't actually notice until the teacher indicates that he has it too. By offering that power to demons, they can gain immeasurable power to fight. While nothing was happening to Kai, the red glow of the anger passion appeared around Toma. It's a simple and strong passion, meaning he's destined for amazing things. Deeming it enough for the day, she tells the two to head back to their rooms. The delinquent gloats and tells Kai to watch him become the strongest shepherd while he sits and does nothing. Also, he wasn't angry because he was punched in the fight but was infuriated as he was holding himself back. Called out for his antics, Kai looks away. Transforming into a demon without even using the power of passion was amazing in itself. Suzu tells him not to get depressed just because a peer was getting ahead of him. His actual problem was that an angel might be devouring a human while they trained. The instructor says shepherds aren't heroes, so he should stop carrying so much responsibility. Even if that were true, he still wants to become a hero like his father for both their sakes. Years ago, he stood atop fallen bullies saying he'd come to save Haru. With tearful eyes, the boy asked how he could do such terrible things. With disgraceful eyes, Kai said, heroes of justice are permitted to do anything. He was strong, cruel, like a demon, and his friend wanted to be just like him. Now he stood there without as a demon hung Iguchi by his hands. The student cries in anguish and admits to everything they're accusing him of. Haru then suggests that one angel can eat someone repeatedly if they're healed in time. With such methods, they can create a perpetual motion system. Unfortunately, humans who receive blessings too often become lifeless apostles. As it felt like a game meant to exploit the rules, he couldn't help but grin. The young man gets the idea of using apostles' pawns for their attack. The angel asks about the antagonists, but he knows she'll kill him if she doesn't obey. Hearing her promise that she won't lie, Haru puts his phone at his back. They look for different now, but he and Kai seemed happy back then. Suzu is teaching Kai how to grow his passion by whipping him wholeheartedly. The boy begs her to let him go and accuses her of enjoying subjecting her comrades to torture. The teacher hides her excitement and tells him that it is hard for her to hit her comrades and that she is doing it with a heavy heart. Afraid of her, he runs away and she goes after him with her whip. On the other hand, Kumi discusses Kai's condition with Oda. She shares that Kai still cannot bring out his passion, but is shown bursting with strong emotions when saving a friend. She does not think that he completely lacks passion but just needs something to trigger it. Oda is deep in thought as he looks at the files of missing persons with Haru shown to be one of them, including the bully, Iguchi. He then gives a phone to her and tells her to give it back to Kai. She is confused about the phone since it was not in their plan, and she was collecting it so colony information would not leak. She wonders what he must have been thinking, since he also instructed her not to talk about Kai's room to anyone. Before he leaves, he tells her that he has one more favor. In a flashback, young Kai was being ignored by his mother. Hungry, he walked out of the house and sat on a bench inside a park. As he endured his hunger, young Haru approached him and offered that they hang out. The bespectacled kid thought that he was always alone, so he figured he would be lonely. He almost ignored the kid and took a bite of his mud dumplings. Seeing him literally eat mud freaked out Haru, so he invited him to his house to have a nice hearty meal. Hearing about food, Kai enthusiastically agreed to go to his house, and that was how the two of them became friends. Back at present, Kai is sitting inside an unused pool and thinking about his friend when Kumi arrives and gives back his phone. The boy wonders if he is allowed to use it now and notices that people have been avoiding him since yesterday. He thinks that maybe it is because he is not passionate enough and that is why people are getting annoyed at him. He breathes a sigh of frustration. Nothing in his life is going right and he feels lonely again after such a long while. His stomach then grumbles, complaining that the food in their headquarters is always so little. He messages Haru and invites him to a meal. Instantly, his message is marked as read. After some time, Toma arrives at the pool and looks for Kai to have him teach him how to find the angel's core, but the boy is nowhere to be seen. Elsewhere, Kai excitedly meets with Haru, since it has been a week since they last saw each other. His friend is glad to see him safe and well and asks where he has been staying all this time. He updates Haru that a lot of things happened since they last saw each other and that he almost died. However, he cannot say anything beyond that since it is the rule and it is sensitive information. Instead, he asks his friend to tell him about his life in school, at home, and others while they are eating to catch up. Haru asks him if he remembers the time when they used to live together, adding that his mother often still talks about that time and she often compares him to a strong kid like Kai. He is sick of always being compared to him. He claims that for a long time they were just friends because he just wanted to vent his violent impulses inside while defending him from the bullies and disguising his motive by protecting him and being a good friend. Kai is full of confusion that his friend is acting weird. Haru reveals to him that he is on the angel's side. Kai cannot believe the nonsense that his friend is telling him since he was almost killed by them before. He vows to make his friend realize that he is being unreasonable when suddenly someone grabs his leg and pulls him, catching him off guard. He wonders what the creature is, and Haru explains that the man used to be a human who bathed in an angel's blessings. As a consequence, the man becomes a living zombie. Looking at the angel beside his friend, he directs his anger at her and vows to crush her. The angel tells him that she made a pact with Haru that his friend's wish to become an apostle will come true if he eats Iguchi and Ino, who used to bully him. The boy agrees, wanting to become an apostle. Angered, he leaps and gives the angel a kick on the face, cutting her nonsense and trying to get closer to his friend. He checks Haru's ear and discovers that the wound has totally healed and that he has received more blessings. He pulls him away from the angel trying to escape with him. He instructs his friend to slip through while he clears the way. However, he is shocked to see that the people in front of them suddenly turn into monsters. The angel tells him that he only believes what he wants to believe and that he is blinded by his own ego as a demon. An apostle beside the angel lunges at him and tries to attack, but he manages to grab the monster. Haru tells him to knock it out with one punch like he always does, which offends him. However, he realizes that the man in front of him is none other than Iguchi. The boy mindlessly asks for forgiveness. Kai looks at his friend with accusing eyes, asking what he has become and if he is the same friend he knew. To his surprise, the angel pierces Iguchi through the head, aiming to impale him as well. The weapon punctures his skull, but he transforms into his demon ego, preventing the angel from stabbing him further. He then lunges at the angel, injuring her in one strike and severing her arm. Trying to distract him, she attempts to hurt Haru, but he stops her before she can make contact. He mocks the angel for using dirty tactics to win, as she is now ditching Haru after using him to get to him. She admits that she is weaker than Greg, so she is no match for Kai. Because of this, she will play smart and cunning until she survives and wins. She bids goodbye to Haru and reclaims her divine weapon from Kai. Haru looks at his friend wide-eyed. Looking at him, he remembers how Kai used to protect him even when they were children. He was always so happy, go-lucky, and so strong. He asked the boy to help him train, and his newfound friend agreed. He shared that he was the district's top runner, and to maintain that glory, he trained daily. Kai found him incredible and admirable because he had something he loved doing. Haru told him that seeing his hard work pay off brought him so much joy and that it gave him purpose. Hearing this, the kid told him to teach him how to run as well. He replied that if Kai beat him in the 50-meter run, he would help him enter the track team. The next day, a girl from the team narrated to Hitomi that the new member of their team had beaten Haru in running and had run sub 6 seconds, a pretty impressive record. She suddenly became curious about who the boy could be. Meanwhile, Haru watched as Kai laughed with his friends from the team. Suddenly, Hitomi approached and asked him to introduce her to Kai, confessing that she had a crush on his friend. While doing his assignment at home, his mother suggested that he quit training since he hadn't improved yet. Haru refused to quit, stating that if he kept practicing, there would be improvements in his results. However, his mother insisted that he should stop since he had no talent. She then checked on Kai, which fueled Haru's anger. It was a long time ago that his loathing for his friend began. Kai had taken everything from him, and he hated him for it. Present, when Kai looks at his friend, he is so shocked to see that he is already dead. Angel thanks her comrade for saving her. The other creature asks if they can eat Kai now, but the angel tells him that it isn't over yet. Meanwhile, Kai weeps for his fallen friend. He screams in agony, utterly heartbroken. The two angels plan to use the apostles they have in stock as shields, knowing that their enemy can't harm humans. But like a flash of lightning, Kai attacks the other angel and tears him apart into multiple pieces, leaving his partner horrified. Kai roars, unable to control himself anymore, consumed entirely by grief. From atop a building, Kumi and Gura watch as the fight unfolds. The contract demon urges her to stop Kai before he goes completely rogue, warning that he will destroy everything if left unchecked. Kumi hesitates, remembering Oda's favor earlier to keep an eye on Kai, but never interfere no matter what happens. Back in the battle, Kai attacks the angel with the intent to annihilate her no matter the cost. She summons another angel, but he slices it cleanly in half. She finds him pitiful, realizing that the same boy who once hesitated to harm apostles is now killing without thought. Still grieving for his friend, the demon blames her for what he has become. Grabbing her by the neck, he gives her a choice: lose everything and restart as a nameless angel, or use her blessing to heal Haru and he will spare her life. The angel knows she should never strike a deal with the shepherd, but all she wants now is to survive. Summoning her remaining strength, she uses her power to heal Haru, bringing him back to life. The effort nearly causes her to collapse, but even then, the boy remains unresponsive. She laughs weakly, telling Kai that she can't heal a soul. Seeing his friend lying motionless, Kai is overcome with unbearable pain. He begs Haru to open his eyes and desperate to apologize because it is something he never got the chance to do. Just then, another angel appears and tries to strike him from behind, but Kumi arrives just in time to shield the grieving boy. Gura informs her master that he is out of rounds and needs more passion to continue fighting. Kumi grants him more fury, recharging his strength. She scolds Kai for sneaking out of the hideout without permission and urges him to return home. But Kai pleads for more time, hoping that Haru will wake up and speak to him again. Tears stream down his face as he reverts to his human form, pleading for his friend to come back. Seeing him so broken, Kumi clenches her fist and grants him 5 more minutes. Meanwhile, rescuers arrive at the scene. They report that there are no confirmed casualties so far. Deploying drones to speed up the search, they are stunned to find traces of angelic death fluid on the ground. Then they spot Haru's body lying nearby. Checking his pulse, they announce that the boy is already dead. Finding no external wounds, they conclude that he must have died of carbon monoxide poisoning. But when one of them notices an unusual lump on his hand, they freeze in disbelief as the boy suddenly gasps for air and opens his eyes looking for Kai. In a news report, the anchor makes an announcement about Kai's crimes against the angels, encouraging the citizens to find him and hand him over. Meanwhile, in the classroom, Meiji approaches Kumi and asks her about Kai's whereabouts, thinking that they might have been together since they both skipped on the same days. The girl denies knowing his location, saying it was all just a coincidence, and leaves her seat. 2 other classmates tease Meiji for talking with her love rival. She doesn't believe that it was all just a coincidence and is sure that the girl definitely knows something. The classmates agree with her, and one comments that the way they branded Kai as the angel killer is way too wild. It is hard not to believe the news since they showed his face, and surely it is not just some baseless accusation. Doubting the allegations, Meiji recalls that Kai has always been fighting to protect someone, so she doesn't believe that he would kill an angel for no reason at all. The friends then argue about who the real bad guy is. There are rumors that the angels caused the tornado years ago and that they eat people, but there is no solid evidence for it. In the middle of their conversation, their teacher appears and overhears them but says nothing about it. He just tells them to exit through the gym because the press is crowding the front gate. Before he leaves, he tells them not to talk about the angels outside. The students are shocked by how calm the teacher is about what he heard. This makes Meggy think that maybe he knows something about the case. Later, she slumps on her desk, thinking about the recent events when her door slightly opens, revealing her grandma. She is shocked to see the old woman, remembering that she has surgery tomorrow and should be at the hospital now. The grandmother reveals that she was blessed by an angel and that it cured her cancer. She was told by her doctor that she could go home after they confirmed that she was clean. Meiji asks if her grandma isn't scared of the consequences, since they don't fully know the powers of angels. The old woman assures her that the angels are good and that they are on their side. However, it seems like the girl still doubts it. Elsewhere, Suzu is drinking with a co-teacher, Ishida. The guy tells her that he can't drive her home because he doesn't have a car. She replies that he doesn't have to worry because someone will pick her up. Shocked, he asks if she has a boyfriend. Drunk, she explains that she is going to be picked up by the black square-headed demon. Interested in her, the guy jots down in his notes that she likes the demon type of guy, oblivious to the fact that she is one of the demons. Her phone then pings, indicating that martial law is in effect. She is sure that Otis' plans are still in place. Meanwhile, authorities are asking Haru's mother about his whereabouts since the blood traces at the scene of the crime are confirmed to be his. The mother goes hysterical, denying that her son could ever kill an angel. She is sure that Kai dragged him into this. Meanwhile, Kai's mother, Miyuki, watches the news with an expression not of worry but of indifference. She draws out her guns when suddenly someone rings her door, announcing that it is a delivery. Outside, a man disguised as a delivery man, along with his group of thugs, waits for her to open the door. They are waiting for the perfect time to ambush and attack Kai, expecting him to come out of the door. They plan on cutting him up and then offering his corpse to the angels. With a vicious look on her face, Miyuki opens the door, making the thugs enter the house. She then draws out her gun and fires at them. A woman is so lax that she is typing on her laptop while not looking at it and is lying down. The monitor grabs her attention as she sees a live video recording of someone near a building. The video then shows a young man filming himself as he reports that angel zealots have traced Kai's mom and where she lives and are about to carry out a vigilante execution. Meanwhile, Kai is in his bedroom, still feeling sorry for himself for what happened to Haru. A dark portal appears on his ceiling. The woman watching the computer from before falls down from it and lies on the floor. She shows him what she was watching on her computer and it shocks Kai. Meanwhile, Miyuki, Kai's mother, has already killed 2 of the people invading her apartment. She kills another, but the last one manages to evade a shot and punches her to disarm her. Confident she is unarmed, the man rushes at her. Miyuki pulls out a gun from the back of her pants and shoots him twice. She tells him that she always has spares and then shoots him again to finish the job. The young man live streaming is still outside the apartment and informs his viewers that he has just heard gunshots from inside the building. He enters and waits for the elevator to open. He then notices a mysterious black barrier appearing behind him. The barrier disappears, revealing that Kai is inside. The man reports to his viewers that Kai has just appeared out of nowhere. The man gets nervous given that Kai is reported as a killer. He picks up his composure as he tells himself that he is a representative of justice and a true journalist. Kai tells him to step aside, but the man holds his ground and talks to him to convince him that he gets why he is killing angels because folk online like him know the truth that angels are not all good. He, however, tells him that the angel's blessing is a greater good they can't leave without and that they are better off now than before. The elevator lights up. Suddenly, the man's phone breaks while he holds it. Miyuki is revealed to have shot the cell phone. She tells the man to get lost. Instantly, the man runs off. She tells Kai that he should not have come since she can take care of herself. She informs her son that he is a demon from his father's side. Miyuki informs her comrades through her phone that she needs help laying low. Kai interrupts her call by asking why she suddenly disappeared on him, and if it is because he is a demon. Coldly, without a hint of hesitation or remorse, Miyuki answers that it was because she did not love him. She tells him that she knew from the start that he was a child of a demon. She elaborates that she wanted a child who was pure and beautiful, but that her son turned out to be a disappointment who uses people without realizing and hurts them. To her, he is the worst of both demon and human. Hearing this brings tears to Kai's eyes. Later at the parking lot, the car to pick up Miyuki arrives and the person within urges her to hurry inside. Miyuki hugs her son and tells him that it was not his fault that he turned out trash. Kai answers in tears that the him that wants to hurt people and the him that wants to help contradictions, but they are still two sides of the real him and are both equally real. Miyuki advises her to accept the good and the evil inside him if he keeps fighting angels. She reminds him that his father would throw everything away just to save people. She then gets inside the car. The suit-wearing driver, Fudo, calls her with the title of sub-inspector and questions why she did not take her son with her. She replies that he is in no position to comment to her about families and that she does not like kids in their organization. Kai is still looking at the car leaving. He hates that his mom called him trash, but still thanks her for the advice. He tells Satan that he knows he is listening, so the demon appears in his usual playful and in-your-face attitude. The demon can tell from Kai's eyes that he has something in his mind. Kai tells him that he has decided to throw away his humanity and become a real demon. Elsewhere, the boy from earlier is cornered by an angel. The creature tells him to reveal the whereabouts of Kai and he will be spared. Meanwhile, Satan is impressed that he is willing to cast his humanity aside now when before he tried to resist it as much as he could. Kai realizes that if he doesn't act now and stays undecided, he will keep losing what's important to him. Determined, he adds that he would rather lose himself than lose the important people in his life. Just then, the angel appears and attacks Kai, giving him a powerful kick. It mocks him, saying that he forgot to crush its core and that now it will annihilate him. As it advances toward the boy using its sharp claws, the boy easily counters the attack and grabs its claw. He pulls it out and uses it to stab the angel's core, trying to end its existence in an instant. The angel tries to stop him, but Satan attacks it instead, saying that it shouldn't disrupt the hatching. He tells Kai to unleash his passion, not hold back, and let his heart be tainted. This will break his shackles and free his demon self. With this, the boy grips the weapon with determined passion, throwing away all his humanity. Satan expresses thrill after witnessing him assassinate an angel in its final form, as this makes him look more like a demon. Kai doesn't appreciate his praise and tells him that he called the demon there to ask something. It has been bothering him that Satan has been staying by his side all this time when they don't have a contract. The demon answers that it is because he loves the kid. Kai dismisses his statement and asks if it is all because of his father. Satan refuses to tell him the reason because it is a secret he intends to keep for now. Kai doesn't push further and calls the demon a clown. The demon corrects him saying that his name is Satan, that he is the king who rules over demons, and that Kai is his grandchild. Kai doesn't believe him and says he is terrible at lying. Satan only laughs at his statement. Elsewhere, Kai is being televised for the whole city to see that he is wanted for murdering an angel. Toma sees this and wonders what the boy could have done to put himself in this kind of trouble. He starts to walk away when suddenly he spots a familiar face in the crowd, his friend. Impossible. Kozu is already dead. He chases after the mysterious man, even leaping over the ticket gate at the subway to catch the train in time. Grabbing the man, he turns him around and is stunned. The face, the height, even the voice are exactly the same as his late friend's. However, the man doesn't seem to recognize him. Toma takes out the necklace his friend once gave him and asks if he remembers the memento. However, the man doesn't recognize him at all, and Toma realizes that he smells like a demon. The man asks him if he is a shepherd with a scary look on his face. He realizes that the man is not a demon but an angel. The man tells him that he usually hides his true form whenever he is around humans. However, he can change his appearance at will. He then asks who Kusu is, angering Toma. Insulted, he tells the angel that he should have remembered the names of the humans he has devoured. With a mocking smile, the angel tells him that it is impossible to tell every bug apart. Enraged, Toma attacks the angel and unleashes his cursed sword, summoning Bone Eater, a form of his demonic power. Fear is evident among the people inside the train as they see Toma as a monster. The angel tells them that he is a member of the terrorist group everyone is talking about. Upon hearing this, the passengers start to panic, but the angel assures them that he is there to pass judgment. He introduces himself as Luvi, Archangel of the 5th rank. The people rejoice, thinking that they are in safe hands. He then draws his bow and arrow, aiming for his shepherd enemy. However, to his surprise, the shepherd seems unscathed and his arrows didn't even pierce through. Toma remains standing without any hint of fear or defeat. Triggered, the angel attacks again using his bow and arrow, but the shepherd easily deflects them, making the arrows bounce off the buildings. He can't believe what happened, and before he could process it, his own power severs his limbs, leaving him at the demon's mercy. Toma raises his sword, ready to end his life, but Luvi begs him to spare him. He tells him that he inhabits Kozu's body. So if he dies, his friend dies with him forever. At that moment, Toma hesitates, and the angel uses this opportunity to take advantage and charge his weapon. He knows how unstable demonic power is, and once the passion is disturbed, the demonization collapses. He attacks the shepherd and manages to hit him. But to his shock, his enemy immediately recovers and grabs him by the neck. He is stunned that Toma's power is increasing instead of decreasing. The shepherd explains that his passion is anger. The more he is angered, the more powerful and vicious he becomes. He then mercilessly thrusts his sword toward the angel. As the snake spirit eats the angel, Toma's consciousness is brought back to when Kozu was still alive. His friend is impressed that he wasn't fooled by the enemy. As a final goodbye, he tells him to take care of himself and not die yet. He then vanishes into oblivion with a smile on his face. The demon is able to read the lingering thoughts of Kozu in the angel's flesh that devoured him. It is a rare occurrence that proves his friend's strong will to leave a message for him. The passengers inside the train took a video of what happened, terrified that an angel was killed in front of them. The footage spread instantly, dividing those who sided with the angels and those who rejected them. Elsewhere, the other shepherds were also busy exterminating more angels. Little did they know, a war was about to happen that they would call the Three Realms War. Meiji has just returned to her house. As she removes her shoes, she sees the news on her phone and calls for her grandmother to ask if she has heard about it. She reviews the news about how there has been a string of deaths and how all of the victims have been blessed at some point. She is then surprised to see that her grandmother is actually asleep on the living room couch. She tries to wake her up, only to be shocked to realize that she is already dead. Meanwhile, Oda is meeting up with Mayor Benai about the deaths in the news. The old authority figure who is cutting his office plant is worried that there would be more deaths now that people are becoming more troubled by the presence of angels. And now that Toma has taken down an archangel, Oda answers calmly that he believes that everything is under control and that the news of the archangel's death is a necessary sacrifice for their cause. The mayor praises him for seeing the positives of the situation. This surprises Oda, who says he thought the Bani would reprimand him for the actions of their newcomers. Bani tells him he believes taking out one of the 16 archangels is a victory they should celebrate, and that this is an opportunity for them to attack. Meanwhile, at the shepherd headquarters, the shepherds are video chatting with Suzu, who is angry at Kai and Tama for their actions that now paint the shepherds in a bad light. Kai and Tama blame each other like fighting kids. Suzu is driven mad by the two as she tells them that they have just made not only angels their enemies, but also humans as well. She urges Kuga to say something to the two newcomers. Kuga tells her that this does not interfere with Oda's plan in any way, and would not be surprised if this was all part of their leader's plan all along. Kuga then invites Kai and Kumi to a meal. Later at the restaurant, Kai ate so many bowls of food. Kuga is surprised that he is fine, revealing that he is actually treating him with food because he heard about how he is sad because of his friend. Kumi reveals that she told Kuga all about Kai's troubles because he was so upset that he was no longer taking baths. She assures Kai that she was not worried about him, but that she just hated that he smelled bad. Kai is surprised that Kuga is the type of guy who listens to people's problems. Kumi teases Kuga for being an old softy despite looking like a scary guy. Kumi informs Kai that Kuga used to be partners with Oda as leaders of the shepherds, but that he was judged to be unfit and was removed. She continues to say that it is because Kuga could not be ruthless and could not cut people loose when forced to make a decision. Kuga admits that it was his weakness, but that he overcame it a long time ago. Kai stands up to express how cool he is for not cutting people loose and shares how he wishes he were the leader instead. This makes Kuga blush. So he shifts the conversation to asking Kai if he can still have the resolve to fight. Kuga tells him that he will fight to the very end no matter if he becomes a demon or not. Kumi is impressed by his resolve, especially because he used to think of him as just an energetic and impulsive airhead. Now she realizes that he is still being cheerful despite all the struggles he has with having demon blood. She whispers that Kai is so admirable that she might like him now. She then realizes what she just said and instantly gets embarrassed. Gura is outside the restaurant, peeking into the window, and is thinking about how Kumi has been slipping out of her emotions more ever since she met Kai. Their phones ring, informing them that Oda wants a meeting for a large-scale operation. Kumi and Kai wonder why they have never heard of a large-scale operation. Kuga is proud to say that it is because he forgot to tell them about it, making Kai realize why he is unfit to be a leader. Later, the shepherds gather, and Oda gives them the news that they will make a full-scale assault against the Archangels. Saru asks him which one since there are 15 Archangels. He answers that they are going to attack all of them, shocking the room. Emre and Seiki question why they are doing something that is seemingly reckless. Oda explains that it is because the contamination from the blessings is more severe than they anticipated and that millions will be turned into apostles if they wait any longer. He is also proud to say that the other reason is that they have gathered enough firepower all while he holds a marble-like object. The marble turns into a jacket in a second, surprising Kai. Oda informs them that the clothes are combat suits made of special material and that they were made by the organization Kai's mother is in. The shepherds try out the combat suits and they turn black. Kuga tells everyone that his only order for them is for all of them to come back alive. At a city plaza, shepherds are making a perimeter and they are equipped with armor and swords. Inside the battlefield, Seiki is battling a spider-type angel who showers him with a rain of lasers. Seiki brags about how he is the only shepherd capable of being unharmed after the assault. He reveals that he was protected by a giant demon and his ability to summon wood barriers. Emre then jumps toward the spider angel, and he throws his chained hooks and stabs them into the giant spider's body. He brags about how his name, Emre, will be immortalized because of this battle. The hooks then unleash energy, which makes the spider's body explode. Emre reveals that his demon is a one-eyed female. Meanwhile, Suzu is battling another angel and kicks it until it is down. Seiki reminds Suzu not to forget about their plan. Suzu teases that she has already forgotten about the plan, only to say she is just kidding. She reviews that step 1 is to raid the Archangel's territory and wipe out as many small fry angels in the process. Step 2 is for all 3 of them to battle the Archangel once they are baited out. Elsewhere, on a building rooftop, Kai, Natsu, and Toma have just defeated a big-headed angel. Natsu reminds everyone not to go all out yet, so they have the strength to face the Archangels. Her demon ball's tentacles point upwards. A second later, an angel attacks Kai from above. Kai punches it to pieces before it gets to him. Tomo was already in momentum to rush towards the angel when he accidentally headbutt Kai. This leads to Tomo complaining that doing 3-person teams was a stupid idea and that they should have hunted Archangels each instead. Kai defends Kuga's plan, telling him that they would have a better chance of defeating an Archangel if it were a 3-on-1 fight. Toma replies that the plan falls apart if two archangels show up instead. Natsu reminds him that the higher-ranking archangels have too much pride to fight in teams. Toma cannot see archangels as prideful beings because of how Archangel Luffy showed vulnerability when they fought. Kai has full trust in Kuga, so he tells Toma to just follow the plan for them to win. Natsu tells them that a 3-person team is ideal for them because her detection power can only serve for support. Kai and Toma tell her not to feel useless since it was her power that has been saving them so far. Kai smiles as he says that it is her power that will give them the victory. Natsu is not so sure everything is going so well so far, since she can't sense a hint of any Archangel's presence despite how much they have caused chaos in their territory so far. Toma does not trust Kai's words as he thinks Kai would rather have Kumi in their team than Natsu. Natsu tells Kai that he would be right to think that given that Kumi is a monster on the battlefield. Elsewhere, Kumi has just defeated multiple angels with Gura's cannonball body parts. Meanwhile, her partners, Kogu and Shiro, are at the sidelines in awe of her strength. Kogu informs Shiro that Kumi is now the number 4 shepherd in their organization. Shiro asks Kogu if Oda is still number 1 to this day, and Kogu replies that he still is. It makes Shiro exclaim that he wants to be as strong as Oda someday. Kogu asks him if he thinks the battle is necessary. Shiro answers that he thinks that the battle is necessary for their revolution. Koga tells him that it is a shame he thinks that way and then puts out his cigarette by pressing it on his hand. Shiro asks why he put it out that way when it hurts. Koga admits ominously that it hurts like hell, but that it is the pain that he needs to experience when sacrificing others. Just as Shiro reacts with confusion to his words, an angel sneaks up and punches him from behind with the power that goes through his body. Shiro is confused about how an angel got past them without Koga knowing. He then gets further confused as the 3 archangels stand side by side with Koga. At the rooftop, Toma and Kai continue to kill low-level angels. Natsu voices her concern that it is suspicious that archangels are not coming out despite all the destruction they caused. Toma suddenly shouts at Natsu to watch out behind him. She manages to dodge the huge arm carrying an axe. The arm and axe then raise themselves upward. Greg, the executioner, shows himself. Kai is surprised that he is still alive. Tama charges at the executioner. Gregorio blocks his sword with his axe. Orochi, Toma's contracted demon, calls Greg pathetic for being a former demon who sided with the angels. Kai charges at the executioner too. The clash of Kai and Toma towards Greg's floating arms causes an explosion. The aftershock is so powerful that Toma needed to hold on to the ground with Orochi's rope like snakes hanging on the architecture while also using it to grab onto Kai. Greg feels excited to see that he is facing 2 worthy adversaries. Kai and Toma agree that they need to take the executioner down with all their might to win. Natsu feels left behind while Toma and Kai talk about their plan to defeat Greg. Both boys turn into their demonic forms. Meanwhile, Kumi sees that Shiro is down while also seeing that Kuga is with the Archangels. Gura is surprised that the Archangels have teamed up and wonders if this means their information about them is wrong. Kumi asks Kuga why he has betrayed them, so he answers that he needed to protect people. Kumi shouts that she does not understand, so Kuga replies that she does not need to. As Kuga grips his box of cigarettes, he shares that it is only his burden to bear the torment of guilt of knowing why he needs to betray them. One Archangel sees a citizen onlooker and tries to kill him. Kumi breaks the Archangel's legs with Gura's cannonball before he can. Kumi warns the Archangel not to get near anyone, but the Archangel uses his glowing rope of light to pull the citizen to him. He introduces himself as the 6th-rank light-controlling Archangel, DLO. Kumi warns the Archangel that taking a hostage is useless since she will just stab the innocent if she really needs to do it. Delo does not believe her. He throws the hostage towards Kumi. As Kumi empathetically looks at the person's eyes coming towards her, Delo thinks about how he knows that humans cannot kill those they make eye contact with. Delo's arm then punches through the hostage, which also goes through Kumi's body. As the girl lies on the floor injured, she thinks back to her childhood when she was watching a Magical Girl series on TV. She loved the Magical Girl so much that she cheerfully told her teddy bear, Kama-chan, that she would grow her hair and be like the Magical Girl someday. Her mother instantly turned off the TV and told her to stop watching shows made by foolish men. Kumi could not stand up to her when she said she was sorry. It was the first instance that she thought she would never be like her mother. Later, Kumi was going to school with her friend, and her friend gave her a magical girl hairpin. She loved it so much that she said she would always treasure it. Later, when she was going home, she thought about how she should hide the hairpin from her mother. Her mother was waiting for her to give her the hairpin that the teacher warned her daughter received. The girl reluctantly gave it to her. The mother told her that it was for her own good so people would not think she was some kind of cutesy woman. Little Kumi cried. She knew that her mother was like this because her dad had been stolen away by a cutesy woman. Later, she pretended to talk to her teddy bear, Kumi, and shared with it about how sad she was that her treasure was gone. Kuma assured her that she could just look in the trash can. Later, Kumi dug through the trash can and was delighted that she found the hairpin. The mother saw what she was doing. The next morning, Kumi had a bruise on her cheek and Kumi-chan was in pieces in a bag. 3 years later, Kumi's childhood friend said hi to her in school. She looked back at her with scary eyes that made her hard to approach. The childhood friend told her other friend that Kumi was a lot friendlier before. She became accustomed to hanging out alone at the school rooftop, looking all serious. In one of these hangouts, Gura saw her and asked to make a contract with her. She instantly dropped her serious act and became a whimpering, scared girl. Gura introduced himself as a demon. The news that they were demons was too much for the girl, so she ran. She paused as Gura offered her to be her true self all the time if she made a contract with them. Despite this, the girl still ran until she cooped herself up in her room. She remembered that the demon promised she could be her true self if she made a contract with them. Kumi's mother approached her and shocked her with the news that she was getting remarried. The mother's happiness in her marriage makes her apologize for how hard she was on her all this time. Her apology made Kumi shout at her mother for all the pain she caused her, including how she lost Kumi-chan. Kumi accused her of never caring about anyone but herself and told her that this is the reason Dad left her. Her words stung so much that the mother stabbed her with the kitchen knife she was holding. As her daughter lies on the floor, dying, the mother runs away from her. Kumi was not surprised as she cried. Gura then showed up again and told her to let her devour her pent-up instead of letting it go to waste with her death. Back in the present, Kuga is reprimanding Dello for injuring Kumi when he told him he needed her alive. The archangel that looks like a knight tells Kuga that he can heal the girl up like nothing happened. Suddenly, the knight archangel explodes from Gura's cannonball attack. All of Gura's body parts then surround Kumi like a barrier. Gura's parts then disappear to reveal a now cheerful Kumi, acting and dressed like the magical girl she loved as a child. Seconds earlier, when Gura surrounded herself with the dying Kumi, Kumi told her demon that she would give them all her pent-up passion of shame if they lent her their power. Gura warned her that pushing too much power might mean she could never go back from being in demon form. Kumi replied that it was fine because she is used to being broken. At present, Kumi is in her dark magical girl form. Seeking her demonized only makes Dello excited as he professes that this will be the first time he will obtain the corpse of a demonized shepherd. Sylph, the Archangel of Wind, states that it will be she who will devour the girl. Both archangels agree to share and get ready to fight. Sylph uses wind to throw Kumi towards the sky. While Kumi is airborne, Dello throws vehicles at her so she can get squeezed. The girl gets hit by the vehicle, making the archangel confident that she was crushed. They are surprised as she comes out of it without any harm. Kumi cheerfully tells them it is her turn now and summons Gura's cannonball body parts towards the opponents. Dello catches them before they can get to him. One of them somehow hits Sylph's head without them seeing how. Her injury exposes that her core is inside her head, so Kumi plans to shoot it out of her with her next attack. This angers Sylph, who unleashes a whirlwind towards her opponent. Meanwhile, a citizen in one of the buildings near the battle is reporting to the police with his cell phone that terrorists and angels are battling outside. Sylph's attack is so powerful that it shatters the window of the man that he needs to get down. Sylph's attack created a huge crater, and she is confident that Kumi was blown to smithereens. She gets surprised as she sees Kumi at the center of the crater looking unharmed. She makes a cutesy peace sign as she tells the archangels that magical girls like her are invincible. Dello then throws buildings at them, yet they break into pieces before they get to her. While also breaking Dello into pieces, Kumi then hits Sylph's head again with a cannonball she did not see coming. Kuga praises Kumi for the power she has shown and asked how much passion it took to get her to this level. Suddenly, Kuga gets hit by a cannonball. Gura informs Kumi that they failed to hit him. It is revealed that Kuga actually caught the cannonball, and he reveals that his theory that she can make them invisible was correct. Kumi congratulates him for finding out her secret. Kuga looks back at her battle with the Archangels and reviews that it was the secret why she looked like she was floating, why the angels' attacks were not connecting, and why the angels could not defend against her attacks. Kuga feels that using the Archangels as bait went well for him. He recalls how water droplets looked like they were floating against something transparent and how he saw so much distortion in space. Kuga summons his demon. The demon starts a pink flicker of fire and uses it to assist Kuga in lighting his cigarette. Kuga then swears to capture Kumi and Gura to protect the people and kill Oda. He reveals his armored demon form.
Alright, that's the end of the story. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.